Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast that asks comedians one deceptively simple question. What does comedy mean to you? Each episode features a different voice from the world of comedy, opening up about why they do it and what keeps them coming back after the tough gigs, the awkward silences, and the occasional on-stage existential crisis. I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 2,000 different comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. Please also take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is another in a long line of doctors turned comedian. She's twice UK Roast Battle champion and in the summer of 2025 made her Edinburgh Fringe debut. Stand-up comedian, Shalaka Kurup. How was comedy an influence on you early on? Was it something that you sort of grew up with?
Yes. A lot of people say they grew up watching stand-up. I don't think I watched stand-up because it wasn't a big thing in India when I was growing up. I think the first stand-up comedian I watched was Anubhav Pal, actually. So it was crazy meeting him for the first time last year. Comedy growing up I think it was a big influence. I used to have a lot of joke books.
Right, yeah.
Which I completely forgot about until I started doing stand-up. And my mom's friend was like, I could have seen this coming. And I was like, why do you say that? Because I was such a weird child. And she was like, no. Because you used to love every time your parents had us over for dinner, you would come down with your joke books and you'd read our jokes and make sure we laughed at every one of them. And then you'd make up your own jokes and the punchlines never make sense, but you always thought they were the funniest jokes you ever had told. So.
Well, what was it then, do you think, that made you want to be a comedian? Did you have specific influences or was there like a catalyst moment?
It kind of happened over time because I used to do science communication. And then I quite liked all the bits where when I was doing the science communication, it was mostly kind of comedy that I would do. I liked when people would laugh. And then I was like, maybe I should try comedy. And just started doing it. It's like with everything I've ever done with my life. I started doing it. And then 2 years later, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this. How? That's basically how I got into it. Just kind of going with the flow. And then one day waking up and kind of being mindful about my life and realizing that I actually just do this now.
Yeah.
It was just things that I enjoy, I keep doing. And luckily I've been enjoying comedy, so I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But entertainment and performance wasn't what you trained for. A lot of comedians would have gone through like drama school and things like that. I mean, what was your path in that direction? So you trained as a doctor?
Yeah. I was very much an academic. I did go to drama school when I was in school.
Right.
I was quite young. And I quite liked performing through that. When I came to uni, I tried joining some of the theatre clubs and I couldn't get through any of the auditions. I think it's because I'm not going to lie, very Bollywood style of acting. I think British theatre is a much more respectable, be subtle in your emotions kind of acting. And I came here with a lot of Bollywood influence, and I'm not surprised that I didn't make it through any of the auditions for Harold Pinter plays or anything like that, because I was overacting the shit out of it. Then I just went full academia, and through that found performance again, and now I'm here.
Yeah. Do you think that there were particular influences on you? Like you said that you didn't have a lot of exposure to stand-up necessarily early on, apart from Anubhav Pal. Do you think that there are other influences as time went on that made you sort of more enthused about the prospect, do you think?
Yeah, it was actually because I started after the pandemic. Through the pandemic was when I actually started to really think about wanting to do comedy. Because every single day of what I got really into cooking. Through the pandemic, like doing deep, involved recipes. And I used to do these little cooking videos on Instagram saying, this is how you make the biryani that I make. This is how you make a chicken curry. This is how you make, this is how you fillet a fish. I used to do these little cooking videos on Instagram and Instagram lives. And while I when I wasn't doing that and I was doing these deep involved recipes, I'd be watching. I never really watched that much of Mock the Week in my life because I grew up in India.
Yeah.
I'd be watching years and years and years worth of Mock the Week. And it just eventually got to a point where when things were opening up and people were like, you should try stand up, you should try stand up. I was like, God, the dream would be to one day be on Mock the Week. And literally maybe 3 or 4 months later, it got canceled.
Yeah.
I was like, well, my dream's dead. Keep going. But it was watching people on Mock the Week that did it for me, which is very strange because a lot of people watch stand-up comedians specials or stand-up comedy shows. Or, for me, it was pretty much all Mock the Week. It was Sindhu V, Glenn Moore, Nish Kumar was a huge one. Reese James, James Acaster, Ed Gamble, Maisie Adams. It was all of those people where I was like, one day I want to be playing silly games and answering stupid questions and writing jokes for these very ridiculous questions on Mock the Week.
So what was your direct path then into being a comedian? What got you onto the stage and how was that first gig?
Oh, that first gig, I decided I was going to do it eve of my birthday in 2021. So that first gig was recommended by somebody who does, I don't know if she does comedy anymore, but she used to do stand-up and she used to do a lot of science communication. And it was recommended as like a really friendly gig because she knew the person who ran it. It was on, I got the date and managed to get one for the day before my birthday. And decided that would be great because if it went badly, then I would get drunk and bring in my birthday. And if it went well, then I would start my birthday on an auspicious commitment towards doing comedy. I don't know if it went badly or well. In my memories, it went really well. There must have been 10. It was an open mic night. There must have been 10 people in the audience. But in my memories, the crowd went wild. I knocked it out of the park. And then about 10 months later, I watched the video and I was like, this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. But I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I got a laugh. I got a couple of laughs. I can do this again.
Yeah.
And it just went from there. I turned whatever age that was. I'm 32 now. But yeah.
So starting on that path of being a comedian then and starting to pick up those gigs, was it kind of what you thought it was in your mind? Did you have expectations going in? Did you find surprises as you went along?
The biggest surprise was the bringer system that did my head in. People always ask me why I'm not married to my boyfriend. And I was like, well, we've been together for a long time and it feels like we're married because he's done the biggest commitment that anyone can do for a stand-up comedian, which is he was my bringer for 4 months of my life, going to gigs once or twice a week, sitting through 12 amateur comedians, being there, supporting me. Like that's bigger than marriage. That's a much more painful experience than getting married to someone. That was the biggest shock, the fact that you always had to have someone. Also, the nicest surprise was how quick it was to make friends. I have friends who I've met within my first 10 gigs, first 20 gigs, first 100 gigs that are still really, really good friends of mine to today.
Yeah.
That was a really lovely surprise because to me, it was everything I've ever done has been with a single focus where I do my job and I go home. And now I have an entire group of friends that I never expected because I was like, I have friends. I don't need more friends. I have enough friends. And through comedy, you just meet so many people. It was nice. It was nice to meet people from different walks of life, different perspectives, different childhoods, different countries. That was a really lovely surprise.
Yeah. Well, on that then, let's talk a little bit about competition because, I mean, you've done many, many competitions, you've won awards, but how do you feel about competitions? Because those same group of friends that you've amassed around you are also your competitors. They're competing for spots in shows and directly in competitions. How do you feel about competitions in general and the ones that you've performed in specifically?
Oh, I hate competitions so much. I hate them. The ones I performed in, all the ones that I ever list on my credentials, I had a great time. one of the good things about the people that make it in comedy or make it that far. So when you get to a semi-final level of a competition or the finals of the competition, I don't think it's truly my belief that I don't think you can make it that far in most industries, including comedy, without being pleasant to be around. And when you're the kind of person that is pleasant to be around, you're an adult about competition.
Yeah.
You know that nothing's going to. I don't think I've ever been in a competition semifinal or competition final or anything like that where somebody's been horrible to be around, or someone's been, maybe they've been bitching about me behind my back. Who knows? But to my face, everyone's always, especially funny women, which I did this year. That was the loveliest. The other female comedians, they were the loveliest people. We were all rooting for each other. When the winners were announced, everyone was excited and happy for them. We all bonded, had a great time backstage. Like treating it like a good gig, I think, is essential. And every competition I've been in, regardless of how much I hate like the nerves and the fear and feeling stupid for caring about the results and wanting to make it through and wanting to win and all of that, as much as I hate all of those feelings, I've always been surrounded by really great people. And I've never had a bad experience with any of those people in those competitions. So, yeah.
What about the festival side of it? I mean, you've done Circuit Breakers at Leicester, you've done Pleasance Reserve. How has your festival experience been, either through those, I don't know what you would call them, institutions, or just broadly?
Yeah, they've been really, I got very, very blessed to be on Circuit Breakers and the Pleasance Reserve. Both of those were wonderful experiences. I think the Pleasance Reserve was a real shock because it was my first time in Edinburgh, which I think may have been a mistake. It was a real shock to me. It was a real shock to performing every single day for a month. Some performances just aren't going to be what you want from them. You're kind of thrown into a very unnatural situation for you as a baby comedian. Because when I'd been doing comedy, especially in London, so many of the nights, and especially when you're coming to the point where you're starting to do professional gigs, so many of the nights are so lovely and the audience is very giving and they love you immediately and they want to be there and support you. And going from that to suddenly people not giving a shit about you, the audience getting bored during your set. It's a lot of things that you've not continuously experienced, and not knowing if it was going to be that again one more day was a real shock for me. I don't think I was used to everyone. I knew what Edinburgh was like. I just never lived it.
Right.
So I don't think I was used to operating on that little sleep, doing 100 things a day, running around, dealing with so many people all the time. Like you'd walk into someone and they'd tell you their entire life story. And you're like, I have to get on stage in 15 minutes. I wasn't used to it. Now I think I'm better at handling Edinburgh, but it was a real culture shock for me where one day you'd be in the flat and somebody would be crying and you're like, oh God, somebody's crying today. And then the next day you're the one that's crying. You're like, why am I crying? I have no clue why It was a very overwhelming experience. And I think I didn't give it credit. Because I've always like, how hard can it be? And it turns out it's the same with my PhD where I was like, how hard can it be? Very hard, it turns out. It was a real culture shock, but I'm glad I had that experience.
Yeah.
Because with the Comedy Reserve, I would go out, I would stay out late, out chatting to people. I would eat horribly. And then I came back and I slept for about a week and I woke up and I was really, really ill. And now I think, like last Edinburgh, I think I've learned how to manage the experience and manage my health and manage my ability to do things a lot better.
Yeah.
So it was a very incredible learning experience. Same with Circuit Breakers was a phenomenal experience as well, where you get to just perform in Leicester Comedy Festival amongst people who you've never got a chance to perform for before. They really take care of you as well. You get to hang out with some great people. You get headshots, all of that. Like both of those, I was very blessed to be part of both those experiences.
So going on in your Edinburgh experience then, so your hour this year, Get a Grip, tell me about that.
That was good. It was very up and down. It's I think it's very exhausting doing an hour when you're a nobody, especially somewhere like the Pleasance, which is full of somebodies. So people come there to watch all of the somebodies, and they're like, "Who's this nobody?" I had a great time doing the hour. It feels like it was 10 years ago now, because once you're out of Edinburgh, it feels like time has passed by so much. Um, I had a wonderful experience doing it. It was really up and down. It was also a really good learning experience, because normally I used to be the kind of person where I would, if things weren't going exactly the way I'd envisioned in my head, then I would just start throwing shit at the wall or counting down to when I could get off stage. And it was a really good learning experience as to sometimes things just don't go the way you've planned it, and you still have 45 minutes of a show to do. You better get creative on how you're going to enjoy this. And I think I came back as someone who enjoys being figuring out the puzzle of how to be on stage, and when something is worth it and when something is not, and how you can get certain people in the audience. And it was also a very good experience for realizing that, especially for who I am as a person and a comedian, I'm never going to be someone that everyone in the audience is. I'm never going to be a club comedian that everyone's like, we love them. But the people who do love my comedy will really love my comedy. And now that's a lot of comfort when I go on stage. And like, I did a gig a couple of days ago where it was broadly fine, not the phenomenal gig. But afterwards, there were 3 or 4 girls who messaged me saying, "We absolutely loved you. We followed you to Instagram. We hope to see you again soon." And I was like, that's who I'm performing for. Slowly, they will come. They will come. It'll happen. They will come. James A. Caster was a niche at one point. Look at him now. It'll be, I'll get better. More people like me will meet in the middle. It made me feel very hopeful about that.
As you said, you're a baby comedian, so only a few years in. So how did you know it was time to do your debut hour? And how heavy was that word, debut? How much did that weigh on you, that expectation? It
did. I think the people build it up as quite a scary thing, and it felt quite scary. And once it was over, it was over. It's sad that it's over and I'll never do one again. It's sad that I just have this show and I don't quite know what to do with it at the moment. I think I could have waited, to be completely honest. I could have waited a few more years, but also at the same time, this is not the way to do stand-up comedy in the United Kingdom. But I'm always I did academia and tech. The mentality there is get the first iteration out as quickly as possible. And then you keep iterating and getting better and better and better and better. But the way comedy works in the UK is you should have the best debut, the best hour of comedy anyone has ever seen in their lives. And then after that, your life will change and every show is going to be a smash hit success. Unfortunately, that's not how I work. So I decided to just get the first one out there. And you just iterate over time, and the next one will be better, and the one after that will be better than that. And I feel like, in hindsight, maybe not the best for the comedy industry that I function within. Right. But for who I am as a person, that's the way I know how to do it, and that's the way I feel comfortable doing it, and that's the way I've done it. So it is what it is. Yeah.
Do you feel that weight of the industry? But like we've talked a little bit about competition, but about it's a very competitive environment, especially if you're going to Edinburgh, you're competing for audiences, you're competing for attention from industry, from press. How heavy is the weight of the industry on you as a comedian?
I think it's you can't escape it unless you're already doing well on the club circuit, which I'm not. Unless you're already having having a lot of opportunities, especially in the UK. You have a car, you can drive around, you can get gigs. They're accessible. Like I have a lot of friends who do the club circuit, and growing in that, especially if you're a good comedian, you have a car, is quite a fruitful endeavor. Like you can get quite far doing that. I unfortunately do not have a car. The trains are super expensive. I don't like traveling that much. So, and also I don't like coming back home late at night. So all of those put together, I'm not just going to try go anywhere where there is a good gig for money. Just because a lot of the time I can't, or some of the time I can't afford to, or some of the time I just don't want to go to Salisbury, take like 300 trains to Salisbury and 300 trains back, or a bus replacement back for £50. Sometimes I just don't want to do that. So when that avenue is a bit limited for you, the direction is getting work from the industry. So writing work, performance work, opening up shows, doing warm up, doing tour support. All of that comes from the industry. So when your options are limited, you kind of do have to depend on the industry and having them look upon you in a favorable light, which gets harder the longer you've been doing comedy. When you're new, and when like in 2023, that was a great year because I was new. I was exciting. I was a new comedian who anything could happen. I could blow up on Instagram overnight, and then suddenly I would be a rich financial prospect or whatever. The longer you're in comedy, the less interesting you are to them. And then you have to work a little bit harder to make sure that you're still able to get opportunities for yourself, which is crazy because when you go to the US, you speak to American comedians, they're like, oh yeah, no one pays attention to you unless you've been doing comedy for about 10 years. And in this country, you can be doing comedy for a year and suddenly you're on not live at Follow, but you're on you're on a panel show, or you're on getting booked for gigs opening for big famous comedians. That doesn't happen in the US, so it's a very different environment here.
Well, I said about you winning in these awards and doing these competitions, but you're a champion also at roast battles. Now, I mean, what is going on there? Because, I mean, it's well known that I hate roast battles.
Yeah.
So what is the allure? Why do you like doing them, and why are you so good at them?
I believe that roast battle is the one place where you can write some of the most creative jokes you're going to write in your life. I like the challenge of writing a joke that's something that's so specific about a person that it really speaks to who their character and their personality could be. I really like people shit on roast battle and they hate it a lot. And I get that completely. Some of the jokes are horrible. But what roast battle has that a lot of comedy doesn't have is a very strong sense of community. So there are people I met who do roast battle in Tokyo. There are people I've met who do roast battle in LA. People I met who do roast battle in New York. The guy who used to run roast battle, they're still really good friends of mine to this day. In a way that stand-up doesn't afford that sense of community. Like the roast battle community is so strong that, for example, I know comedians from the UK who've gone to Barcelona to do the roast battle, and because there's such a lovely group of people, they will set you up with other comedy gigs. They'll give you a space to do your 1-hour show. And there's a lot of opportunities that come from being part of that community. Yeah. And I think that's my favorite aspect about roast battle. Like when I was offered, I couldn't go, unfortunately, because I was preparing for Edinburgh, but I was offered to go to Texas to do a roast battle there. And then was also offered a bunch of spots on every night of the week, or every other night of the week, or a few nights of that week. Whatever I wanted, whatever they could give me, they were like, we'll make your trip worthwhile. Yeah. And we'll give you the opportunity to perform in front of people that you will never have performed in front of before. That community vibe, I think, is the best thing about roast battle.
Yeah. For anyone listening who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, I mean, over to the expert. What is a roast battle?
A roast battle is just when two comedians come on stage and they're just mean to each other. They just write mean jokes about each other, deprecating jokes. It's not for everyone. And that's a problem, I think, where people think that something has to be for everybody. And there's a lot of people who don't like roast battle. I have really good friends of mine who will not come to roast battles, who don't like watching roast battles, who think it's not very enjoyable. And I completely understand that. I can see why people would find it a very unpleasant environment. But to me, I just find it fun. I like the creativity that goes behind a roast battle joke. And the funniest thing about a roast battle is I don't think I have ever done a roast battle against someone I don't genuinely enjoy as a person. I mean, I've obviously done roast battles against people I've never met before.
Yeah.
But it's never happened where I've done that roast battle and then afterwards be like, oh, that was a horrible person. We've always spoken afterwards and they've always been a lovely person. I think it's very rare to find a roast battler who's genuinely unpleasant to be around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not for everyone. And I completely get that.
No. Well, from my perspective, because I'm such a fan of comedy, these are always people that I admire or respect in some regard, and to see them basically slagging each other off makes me deeply uncomfortable. So
that's so fair.
That's my perspective. But funny is funny, and sometimes the jokes are just incredible. And obviously, like you say, it's very specific, focused on one topic, one person, one subject. So yeah, I mean, it's an extraordinary skill. But what about a comedy boast? Which is obviously it's the flip of that. Are you interested in doing those kinds where you're not insulting an individual, but you have to be complimentary about them? Isn't that arguably more difficult?
I would find that incredibly difficult because I think it's easier to write. I've done it before where I've written roast jokes that sound like insults but are secretly compliments. Or as soon as you say it out loud, they're like, is that an insult or a compliment? I find that very easy to do. But I became an adult in the UK. No one is ever outwardly nice to each other. My entire personality was built in the UK. I don't know how just be nice to someone. I think if I did it, I would do it in a roast battle style where I don't know if you've ever watched Andy Samberg do a roast battle, but all of his roast jokes sound like roast jokes, but he's actually the person he's roasting is himself. And he's being incredibly complimentary about the other person while he's roasting himself. I think that's the only way I can imagine doing something like that.
What about watching other people do comedy? Do you still watch comedy? Do you go to comedy shows and sit down and enjoy them? Or are you analytical now? Do you watch with a comedian's eye?
I think now I don't go to comedy shows as much. If I go to comedy shows, they'll be people's hours. Because I love learning more about a person, and especially a comedian I love, I will watch a lot of them. So I mostly go to people's hours. I'm definitely more analytical now when I watch a comedian. I do that horrible thing where the number of times I've been at a gig and I've heard I've heard a joke and I've written a tag for them in my head and I'm like, you are a piece of shit. Just live in the moment and enjoy their material. Why are you writing tags for other comedians' jokes that you're not going to give to them because you're scared of being condescending? Shut up. I mean, every comedian I know or I'm friends with, we've all spoken about this, where the stuff that makes us laugh now is very stupid. It's very silly. The other day I watched a TikTok. The thing that's made me laugh the most is a TikTok video of Theo Vaughn doing a very offensive Chinese accent, or it's not Chinese, but East American accent. But he just says one word. He just goes, Bobby. But it's just the way it sounds in my ear is so funny to me. It's just funny sounds is what makes me laugh right now. Like the other day, I was watching something on TV, and it was Finn versus the internet, and he goes, ma, 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 ma. And I was like, funniest thing that had happened to my week. Like a funny sound is, or someone tripping or falling over, or someone bombing on stage. Like those are things that I find funny now. Yeah, very silly stuff.
And do you have time in your sets, in your show, to entertain yourself? Do you keep things in that are just for you, that are, even if they perhaps don't find an audience?
Oh yeah, I've definitely. I mean, for some gigs I will not do that. The things that are just for me are very much just for me. Um, but if it's a gig that I know I'm going to enjoy, then I will throw in like Quantum Leopard, which is when I last met you. That's a show where I'll always throw in something that I think is funny that no one else does, or I'll say something on stage that everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like, no, that was just for me. That's an inside thought. That's for me. Or that's a sound for me. Or that's a statement that makes sense only to my head. But a gig like Quantum Leopard is a classic example of a gig where I will do a lot of that because it's a very safe gig and they're lovely people who are very receptive and open to being silly. Yeah.
You said about Mock the Week being sort of something that you had like as a target ahead of you at one point. Do you still set those targets? Do you have objectives in mind, places you want to perform, people you want to work with, that sort of thing?
I would love to meet so many comedians. There are so many comedians I would love to meet. I would like Anthony Jeselnik is one who I'm just curious. I'm curious as to what he's like. I would love to meet him. I'd love to. I mean, there's so many of them, and right now, when put on the spot, it's probably because I think about it all the time that it's just like a natural thought in the back of my head that to access it is hard work. There's a lot of comedians I'd like to meet. I would love to perform at the Comedy Store in LA, just because it's the first comedy institution that I ever heard of in my life. From watching stuff on MTV back in the day when I was growing up. People would mention the Comedy Store in LA. And that's stuck in my head since then. I would love to be on an episode of a TV show, but all the TV shows that I would love to be on an episode of have been canceled. So for me, it was always one day like, one day I'll be on Parks and Rec, canceled. One day I'll be on Community, canceled. Just like, not even as a main character, as like a side walking in the, like Abed in Community, just walking in the background of Huguetown. I want that. I just want to be on set to see what they're doing, what they're talking about, how they hang out. There are comedians like, what's his name? I know him as John Ralphio Saperstein. That is not his name. Ben something. I'm blanking on his name. I'd love to meet him. Jason Mantzoukas. If I met him, I would pass out. A lot of comedians. I think there was a freak incident where, was it last year or a year before last? No, it was last year, where a bunch of comedians playing basketball just met Adam Sandler, who turned out to play basketball at this random basketball court in London. That's an insane experience. I think I'd love to have crazy experiences like that. There's been times through my comedy career where I've just been in the middle of something and been like, I can't believe this is my life. And sometimes it's something really mundane, like sitting in the green room of Angel Comedy, surrounded by posters of all of these famous people, truly recognizing where I am. And sometimes it's like completely insane. Like my first time performing at Always Be Comedy, and who was on the lineup? It was a crazy lineup, and people who were on TV that I'd never met before. They were all super lovely. And just being like, how are these the people that I'm in the same green room with? Yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. But I don't have any specific goals. It's just meeting a lot of my heroes. I think if I met Tina Fey, that would be it. If I met Tina Fey, I would go from speaking to her to a tube platform and jump in front of the tube, because I've peaked. There's nothing more I need to achieve in my life. That's it. I've done it. Kids, marriage, babies, who gives a shit? I've met Tina Fey. That's all I want.
Well, we have to make sure that you don't meet Tina Fey in a tube station.
That sounds like a weird, like a suicide note. I don't mean it like that. She's such an honor. Tina Fey is probably comedy influence. I grew up wanting to be Liz Lemon. And in school, everyone was like, "Oh my God, she's Liz Lemon." And then as you grow older, like now in my 30s, I'm like, no, actually, I want to be Jenna Maroney. I want to be the crazy blonde woman who's in these insane movies. To be in the environment of something like 30 Rock would be a dream come true, I think.
So you've done spots, you've done your own show, you do the roast battles. Obviously, you're writing. Where are you at your happiest?
Where am I at my happiest? On stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not always. I've done some horrible. I was in Dartford. I've done some gigs where I'm definitely unhappy. About to go on. They're just about to announce it. No, actually, no, that's when I'm nervous. Standing behind the bar before the break, watching another great comedian smash it. That's when I'm happy. It'll always be comedy. Or standing at the back at the Bill Murray, watching the comedian on before me. That's the happiest. I could perform it live at the Apollo. I could win a BAFTA. And I think those two moments, always be comedy and the Bill Murray, is the happiest I'll probably ever be in my life. Though, as in, like, I will still continue to be happy in those places.
Yeah.
But that's my peak for being happy in my job.
But do you prefer having the opportunity to tell a long form story, like in your hour, or do you like being on those mixed bills like you've mentioned there?
I think being on the mixed bills only because I don't like doing things I'm not good at, and the long form story hour. It depends on the day of the week. Like right now, if I had to go out and perform tonight, I would very much a mixed bill. I wouldn't want to do my hour today.
Right.
But when I was in the throes of it in Edinburgh, I really, really enjoyed the challenge of, because it's such a new experience to me. And I'm such a baby about things where I don't like doing something and not immediately being good at it. So having to like work on that over the course of the month. By the end of the month, I was really happy with how much progress I'd made with storytelling, because telling jokes is easy, but keeping people's attention for that long is much, much, much harder. And learning how to modulate my voice and going soft through some parts of it, or performing some things bigger or performing something smaller, like learning that over the course of the month was very exciting.
Yeah.
But now that it was August and now we're recording in December, I'm scared of that. And I think that's why I would prefer to be in a mixed bill, not because I genuinely prefer that. It's just because I don't like being bad at things. And I think if I did my hour right now, the first iteration, I'd be bad at it. I'd have to relearn how to do it well again, or it would have to come back and kick back in that memory of how to do it.
Yeah. But you've been doing comedy a few years now. I mean, do you still, you've mentioned there about the nervousness and the fear. Is it still that prevalent?
No, I don't think so. It's definitely not how it used to be before. Like my hands would shake. Literally, I'd look down and my hand would be doing this. Like both my hands would be moving side to side. That doesn't happen that much anymore. But if it's a gig, like the other day, I was opening for Brett Goldstein and Nish was in the audience. And that was definitely nervousness. Because also there were jokes that he definitely heard before. And so it's more like overthinking rather than nervousness, where you're like I'm on stage, I'm trying to do good material so that I can be a good comedian in front of one of my comedy heroes. But at the same time, trying to make sure I'm doing material that he doesn't, why would he remember any of my jokes? But I'm in my head, I'm like, no, but he's seen this joke before. So I need to do a different joke, but that's also as good as this joke. So it's that mind is in overdrive for things that broadly don't matter, because he's a lovely man. He doesn't judge me. He's always super nice to me. But in my head, I'm like dying to impress him. So it's more like me thinking 100 thoughts all at the same time while also speaking with my mouth. That's the best way I can describe that experience.
Do you think then you've got one single lesson that stands out in your mind, something you've learned so far doing comedy, maybe something that you tell yourself before you go on stage, or that informs what you write going forward, or something you would tell yourself starting out? one important lesson that stands out for you?
One important lesson. Patience, I think, which is not just for comedy. I've never had any patience ever in my life. I'm still trying to learn it. It's the hardest. Comedy is hard, but learning patience for me is way harder. I don't think I will ever learn how to be patient. I don't think I'll ever learn to be just calm and see that, realize that things take time and things will work out when they have to. I'm a very impatient person, and you can tell with sometimes how I speak on stage, with some of my jokes I could do with more development. It's still something I'm working very hard on and not succeeding at. But I think that would be my lesson for the rest of my life, is to have some patience.
So what so far do you think have been your worst and best experiences of being a comedian?
Ooh. Best experiences have been Comedy Reserve, performing in Edinburgh, which is also my worst. Some of my worst experiences were also performing in Edinburgh. The Hour, Always Be Comedy, which was during the pandemic. I used to watch Always Be Comedy videos because they used to do the pandemic shows. I used to watch them all the time.
Yeah.
So when I started doing comedy, I was like, one day I will be on that stage. And it took a few years, obviously, because it's a professional venue. But that first gig at Always Be Comedy, on the tube home, I was supposed to change at Leicester Square to get home. I missed my stop and I had to go all the way, and I didn't even care. I was like, wow, it's very rare to have a specific dream that you have not physically written down, but you've scribed it in your head. It's very rare to have that, just to take something like that off. So that was a big moment. I'm very privileged where I've had so many. And again, it's a patience thing where I'm always thinking about the next thing, that I haven't sat down and fully appreciated some of the experiences that I've had. And I think I need to, I don't know, have a gratitude journal or some wanky bullshit like that. So I can properly sit down and think about all the things I should be grateful for. Worst experience, but it's the same with me with worst experiences. There's so many times I'd have to go back through. It's good probably that my phone was stolen, because I have so many incriminating voice notes to other friends of mine, other comedian friends, being like, this was the worst experience of my life. And my boyfriend comments on this all the time, but he's like, nothing is just okay or just fine for you. Everything is the best or the worst. As soon as I sent it in a voice note to someone or bitched about it to my boyfriend, it's out of my head, which sucks for podcasts like this, because I'm struggling to think of some of the worst experience. I mean, I had a gig in Dartford on Sunday, which was a pretty low experience, where I asked the guy what his name was, and he said, you already asked me this question 10 minutes ago. And I said, I wasn't on stage 10 minutes ago. He's like, yeah, you said, what is your name? And I said, Steve. And I said, that was the other Asian comedian. And she's Chinese. So what are we doing here? So that's pretty low. That's a pretty low experience. This is not from comedy. This is before I even did comedy, but this is pretty much the worst experience not anyone has had on stage, but it's up there, where it was a gig where they had a lot of regular audience members and nobody thought to tell me anything about it. I was doing a talk, and halfway through the talk, I start hearing someone mewing in the audience, like a cat. And this is like my third or fourth time on stage ever in my life. So I go, oh, there's a cat in the audience. Hello, cat. And then it keeps going. And I was like, who the fuck is the cat? And then finally I end up going, can the cat shut the fuck up? Like, I keep building it up, and then it gets really tense and awkward in the room. And I quickly finish my talk and get off stage. And I'm like, that was such a weird experience. Later on, speak to the organizers. They didn't think to warn me that there's someone in the audience with Tourette's. So all I'd been doing was standing on stage yelling at someone with a condition that they could not help and bullying someone with a disability. And they're like, oh, but they were mewing through other people. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, why is no one addressing the cat in the room? That's a pretty bad one.
How can people find out all about you and where they can come and see you performing?
I post everything on Instagram. I know I should diversify my social media, but I'm on Instagram on @Shalaka Kurup.
And then I have only one more question, which of course is the same for everybody. The title of the show, how would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
I've been thinking about this, and I think it's a coconut. Because everyone will enjoy it for a different reason. And if you do not like it, you're a psychopath. Because coconut's versatile. Coconut goes with everything. Nuts and savory food, you can have coconut and sweet food. And I feel like the podcast is the same, where no matter what your purpose is or what your link to comedy is, there is something for you that will be useful in this podcast.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, I like coconuts. I love coconuts. So I thought it was, to me, it's I'm South Indian. So to me, it's a very big compliment.
Well, and gratefully received. Shalaka, thank you so much for being my guest. It's been a genuine privilege. Thank you so much again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It was lovely to chat.